Kyle Morrison stood in the middle of a huge room. The room was so big he could barely see the walls. Above him, clouds floated near the ceiling. They were not real clouds, but they looked real. The floor under his feet was made of smooth crystal that shined like glass. All around him sat creatures from 1,000 different worlds. Some looked like insects, some looked like snakes. Some were just balls of light. They all stared at him. Kyle wore his uniform. It was old and the colors had faded. He looked plain next to the aliens in their fancy clothes that glowed and sparkled. But Kyle stood straight and did not look afraid. He had come here to ask for help. His people needed justice. Miners on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, had been attacked. They were just working, digging for minerals. The Xanthari attacked them for no reason. Humans fought back. Now the aliens said humans were the bad ones. A giant crystal being floated in front of Kyle. It was called Velnashi. It was the judge here. Blue light pulsed inside it like a slow heartbeat. When it spoke, Kyle heard the words in English, but he knew it was speaking in many languages at once. Every alien in the room heard it in their own language. The crystal being said Kyle was guilty. It said humans broke treaties. It said humans took too much space. It said humans were too aggressive. Kyle felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. The charges were lies. The Xanthari made them up. They wanted the mining colonies, and when humans said no, they attacked. But this was not a real court. This was politics, and humans were losing. Kyle spoke clearly. He said the charges were false. He said Earth followed every rule. He said the Xanthari attacked civilians who were just working. He said humans only defended themselves. That was not a crime. That was survival. His voice did not shake. He looked the crystal being right in its glowing center. The aliens around the room moved and whispered. A snake creature coiled on a high platform made a hissing sound. The translation system said it was laughing. The Xanthari delegates clicked their jaws. Their compound eyes reflected the light like black mirrors. They seemed amused. To them, Kyle was nothing. Humans were nothing. Just primitives who did not know their place. The crystal being spoke again. It said humans could not fit in with galactic society. It said humans were too violent and refused to accept their place. It said the council voted. All agreed. Kyle was guilty. His heart sank. All agreed meant even the Lyra voted against him. The Lyra were the only aliens who had been kind to humans. He looked at their section. Ambassador Lysara, a being made of flowing light, would not look at him. Her glow was dim. Someone had threatened her or bribed her. Kyle asked what the punishment was. He already knew, but he asked anyway. The crystal being said immediate execution. Kyle would die right now. After that, Earth would be cut off. No trade, no contact. Humans would be alone in space until they learned to obey. Kyle felt energy building around him. The execution was starting. They would turn him into atoms. Just make him disappear. They said it did not hurt. They said it was fast. He would just stop existing. Kyle thought about his daughter Sophie back on Earth. She was 7 years old. She wanted to be a starship captain. She thought her dad was making the galaxy better. Kyle thought about the miners. He thought about the colonists. He thought about all the humans who believed talking could solve problems. Then Kyle thought about something else. Something the council never bothered to learn. They studied human art, they read human books. They thought they understood humans, but they never studied human history. They never learned about human wars. They did not know what humans were really capable of when pushed too far. Humans had an old saying. It came from a war hundreds of years ago, back when humans only fought each other, back before they met aliens. The council thought knowing human culture meant reading poems and looking at paintings. They never studied how humans fought. They never learned about human soldiers. They never learned what happens when you corner a human. Kyle smiled. The energy around him was getting stronger. He could feel it pulling at him. He had maybe 10 seconds left. He said one word. Nuts. The crystal being stopped. Its light flickered. It did not understand. Kyle's smile got bigger. He said it meant no. It meant humans refused. It meant they could kill him, but they made a big mistake. The crystal being seemed confused. It asked why Kyle smiled when he was about to die. Kyle said he smiled because he knew something they did not. He said they were not killing a diplomat today. They were starting something they could not stop. He said when humanity came for them, when humans brought everything they had, the council would learn an important lesson. The crystal being leaned closer. It asked what lesson. Kyle's last words echoed through the chamber. Every recording device caught them. Every council world heard them. Every species in the galaxy would remember them. Kyle said, never start a fight with someone who has nothing left to lose. The execution field turned on. White light filled the room. Kyle Morrison disappeared. One moment he was there, the next he was gone. Not even dust remained. The council thought it was over. They thought the human problem was solved. They thought wrong. On Earth, deep under the mountains in Switzerland, Admiral Benjamin Cole watched Kyle die. Around him sat the military leaders of Earth. They watched in silence. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Finally, General Patricia Vaughn whispered that they actually killed him. She could not believe it. Admiral Cole said yes, they did. His hand moved to a red folder on the table. The folder had a label. Project Fury. Admiral Henry Grant, who commanded all the ships, said the Council would enforce the blockade. Earth would be cut off. No help would come. Humans were alone now. Cole said humans were always alone. They just pretended otherwise for 30 years. They pretended talking would work. They pretended the aliens would treat them fairly. Kyle Morrison knew the truth. He died trying to make them listen. Cole opened the red folder. Inside were plans and orders. Weapons designs and target lists. Cole stood up. He put both hands on the table. When he spoke, his voice was hard as stone. He said to activate Project Fury. He said to call back every human ship to the solar system. He said to prepare for war. He said to send a message to every human everywhere. Grant asked what the message should say. Cole said to tell them the Council made their choice. Tell them Kyle Morrison died trying to find peace. Tell them that now humans would show the galaxy what happens when you take the peaceful option away. Grant hesitated. He said the Council had thousands of worlds and millions of ships. Humans could not win a normal war. Cole said good thing this would not be a normal war. He pointed at the folder. He said to do everything in the plan. All of it, no holding back. No mercy, no surrender. He paused, then added one more thing. He said make sure every species in the galaxy knows why this is happening. They killed one of ours. They murdered a man trying to talk peace. They wanted war. Now they would get it. The officers left to carry out their orders. Cole stood alone in the command center. He looked at a picture on the wall. It showed Earth from space, blue and beautiful. Soon he thought the galaxy would burn, but Earth would survive. Humans would make sure of that. 6 months passed since Kyle Morrison died. In those 6 months, humanity stopped talking to the galaxy. Every human ship came home. Every ambassador left their posts. Every trade deal was canceled. The aliens thought humans gave up. They thought the blockade worked. They thought humans would just sit quietly and accept their punishment. They were completely wrong. Above Mars, in the orbital shipyard, something massive was being built. The shipyards were built 30 years ago for exploration ships and cargo vessels. Now they built something very different. Captain Lisa Chang stood on an observation deck watching the new ship take shape in space. She used to command survey ships before humans met aliens. Then she commanded escort ships for diplomats. Now she would command this. The ship was enormous. Bigger than anything humans built before. But size was not what made it scary. It was the purpose. Every line of the hull was designed for fighting. Every weapon mount. Every armor plate. Every engine. This ship was built for one thing only. War. Admiral Cole walked up behind Lisa. He asked if she thought it was beautiful. Lisa did not turn around. She said she was not sure beautiful was the right word. Cole asked what word she would use. Lisa said necessary but terrifying. Cole nodded. He said that was exactly right. Both of those things. He asked if she knew what they named it. Lisa said no. Cole told her it was called the UESS Retribution. First of her class. 60 more just like her were being built in secret yards throughout the solar system. And this was just the beginning. Lisa looked at him in shock. 60 capital warships? She asked how they built so much without the Council noticing. Cole said because the aliens were arrogant. They thought humans were primitive. They thought humans would never challenge them. So they never looked closely at what humans were doing. Every survey ship humans built had parts that could be used for military purposes. Every colony expansion included hidden military bases. Humans had been preparing since first contact. They just hoped they would never need it. Lisa said Kyle Morrison hoped for that too. Cole's voice got hard. He said yes, Kyle believed in peace. He believed humans and aliens could work together. They killed him for believing that. Now humans would show them the cost. Below them, the retribution was almost finished. Lisa could see the weapons. Missile tubes, beam cannons, armor thick enough to stop anything, engines powerful enough to outrun any alien ship. But the real weapons were hidden inside, things the aliens could not see from outside. Lisa asked about Project Fury. The briefings mentioned more than just ships. What else were humans deploying? Cole was quiet for a moment. Then he said everything. Every weapon humans never wanted to use. Every piece of military technology developed and locked away. The Council thought they knew what humanity could do. They thought 30 years taught them about humans. Cole turned to face Lisa directly. He said the Council was about to learn what 5,000 years of human warfare created, and humans would not stop until the aliens surrendered completely or ceased to exist. On Europa, in the mining tunnels under the ice, engineer Daniel Cross was working. The Council's blockade meant no shipments in or out, but the miners kept working. They were not mining for trade anymore. They were mining for war. Daniel watched huge containers of refined materials move toward transport tubes. He told his supervisor, Helen Foster, that was the last shipment. 6 months of non-stop mining, enough material to outfit the entire fleet 3 times over. Helen nodded. She said the Council thought cutting humans off would starve them. They did not realize humans were sitting on the largest stockpile of military resources in the solar system. Daniel asked if it would be enough to win. Helen was quiet for a long time. She said she did not know if humans could win, but she knew they would make the aliens wish they never heard of Earth. In secret laboratories hidden in the asteroid belt, scientists worked on projects that made normal weapons look like toys. Dr. Rachel Gordon stood before a holographic display. The device shown in the display looked simple, but it was anything but simple. Rachel told the military observers watching from Earth that it was ready, the quantum disruption field generator. It created a small area where space and time became unstable. Anything caught in that area would fall apart at the atomic level. Things would just stop existing. General Vaughn asked about the range. Rachel said 5,000 kilometers, and they could make it bigger or smaller. They could target one ship or a whole fleet. Vaughn asked if it worked on alien shields. Rachel smiled, but it was not a happy smile. She said alien shields were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles. This was not energy. This was physics. Alien shields might as well not exist. They would not stop this at all. Vaughn asked how many they could make. Rachel said they were already making them. Every capital ship would have at least one. The Retribution would carry 12. Vaughn nodded and told Rachel to keep working. They would launch in 3 months. Everything needed to be ready. 3 months. That was how long humanity had to prepare for the biggest military operation in its history. 3 months to turn defensive plans into offensive action. 3 months before the galaxy would burn. In those 3 months, every human worked toward the same goal. Factory workers built weapons. Scientists developed new technologies. Soldiers trained for space combat. Children in schools watched news feeds showing the fleet being built. Teachers told them they were watching history happen. On Earth, in the command center under the Swiss mountains, the final briefing happened before launch. Every ship captain was there in person or by hologram. Admiral Cole stood before them. The weight of what they were about to do showed on his face. Cole told them that in 72 hours they would leave the solar system for the first time in 6 months. Their destination was the Zenthari core worlds. They would strike first and strike hard. They would show the Council exactly what happened when they murdered humans. He paused and looked at each captain. He said he would not lie. Many of them would not come home. The enemy had more ships and more experience. But the enemy had one critical weakness. They did not understand humans. Cole's voice dropped, but everyone could hear him clearly. He said the aliens thought humans were just another species. They thought humans would fight with rules and restraint. They thought humans wanted honorable peace. They were wrong. Humans would show them what total war looked like. Humans would fight with everything they had, hold nothing back, accept no limits. They would make the aliens regret ever hearing Kyle Morrison's name, and they would not stop until the aliens begged for peace. Captain Chang, now commanding the Retribution, stood up. She asked permission to speak freely. Cole said granted. Chang asked what would happen if the aliens did not surrender. What if they fought to the end? Cole met her eyes. He said then humans would end them. Every last one. Humans gave them peace. They chose war. Now they get war. The room was silent. Then one by one, every captain stood. It was a silent agreement, an acknowledgement of what they were about to do. Humanity was going to war, and the galaxy was about to learn why that was a very bad idea. The ships were ready. The weapons were ready. The soldiers were ready. In 3 days, everything would change. The council thought they won when they killed Kyle Morrison. They would soon learn they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. The Zenthari homeworld looked beautiful from space. Purple clouds swirled in the atmosphere. 3 massive defense stations orbited the planet. Each station was as big as a small moon. They had enough weapons to destroy entire continents. Everyone said it was one of the safest planets in the galaxy. That was about to change. On the bridge of the UESS Retribution, Captain Lisa Chang watched her screens. Behind her ship, 60 more warships emerged from faster-than-light travel. Their hulls were dark and angular like knives, all pointed at the Zenthari homeworld. Lieutenant Jake Morrison, nephew of Kyle, reported that all ships were ready. His voice was steady even though his heart was racing. The sensor officer called out that the Zenthari defense network was activating. They were sending messages on all channels. They wanted to know what humans were doing here. Lisa ordered her crew to open a communication channel. She would tell them exactly why humans came. The view screen showed a Zenthari military commander. It looked like a giant insect with compound eyes that reflected the bridge lights. Its mandibles clicked as it spoke. The Zenthari said human vessels were breaking council law. Humans were supposed to be quarantined. It ordered the human fleet to leave immediately or be destroyed. Lisa leaned forward in her chair. She said she was Captain Lisa Chang of the United Earth spaceship Retribution. 6 months ago, the Zenthari helped the council execute a human ambassador who came in peace. His name was Kyle Morrison. They murdered him. Now humans were here to collect payment for his life. The Zenthari commander's mandibles clicked in confusion or maybe amusement. It said payment? It said the human fleet would be debris within an hour. The council would hear about this aggression. Lisa said let them hear. Humans wanted them to know. Humans wanted every species to understand what happens when you kill a human. She ordered all weapons to fire. The Retribution opened fire, but not with normal weapons, not with missiles or lasers. The quantum disruption field generators activated. Invisible waves of unstable space-time washed over the nearest defense station. The station's shields lit up trying to stop the attack. The energy barriers did nothing. The disruption field passed right through them like they were not even there. Then the station began to dissolve. It did not explode. It just came apart. Molecular bonds broke. Atomic structures fell apart. The huge weapons platform that was built to survive planet-killer weapons simply stopped existing. Its atoms spread out into space like dust in the wind. The second and third stations died the same way seconds later. They just dissolved into nothing. On the view screen, the Zenthari commander's face showed horror. It asked what humans had done. It said that was impossible. No weapon could get through their shields. Lisa said coldly that their shields were designed by species that fought with honor. Humans were done with honor, done with alien rules. This was war. Human war. And the Zenthari were about to learn what that meant. Lisa told her weapons officer to target military installations, planetary defense grids, shipyards, command centers. Leave civilian areas alone, but make sure the Zenthari understood humans could reach anywhere they wanted. The fleet moved into attack position. Humanity's weapons spoke with terrible efficiency. Orbital shipyards dissolved. Military bases crumbled. Communication towers went silent. In 20 minutes, the Zenthari's military infrastructure was gone, erased by weapons that made no sound and left no debris. Things just ended when these weapons touched them. The Zenthari commander was shouting now. Its calm was replaced by panic. It said stop. It said they surrendered. It said the council would negotiate. Lisa said the council had their chance to negotiate. Kyle Morrison tried to negotiate. They killed him. Now there was only one way this ended. Unconditional surrender. Every Zenthari world, every Zenthari ship, everything. Or humans would keep doing this until the Zenthari species was just a memory. The commander said humans could not win. The council had thousands of worlds. Lisa said then humans would visit all of them, one by one, until they understood. The Zenthari had 24 hours to evacuate military personnel and surrender their fleet. If they refused, humans would target industrial centers next, then government buildings, then cities. Humans would not stop, would not negotiate, would not accept anything less than total surrender. Lisa cut the connection and turned to her crew. She ordered them to broadcast what just happened on every frequency. Make sure the council saw it. Make sure every species knew what humans did here. Then plot a course for the Korthan territories. If the Zenthari did not surrender in 24 hours, humans would show the galaxy they meant every word. In the council chambers 3 light-years away, chaos erupted. The Arbiter Velnashi watched footage of the defense grid disappearing. Its crystal form pulsed with what might be fear. Around it, delegates from 1,000 species shouted and argued and demanded action. The Korthan representative hissed that this was unprecedented. 3 defense stations destroyed in minutes with weapons nobody had ever seen. Another delegate shouted that humans were violating every law of warfare. A quiet voice spoke. Ambassador Lysara of the Lyra floated forward. Her light was dim but steady. She said humans were honoring the law the council taught them. The chamber fell silent. Lysara said the council killed the human ambassador. They executed him for seeking justice. They showed humans that peace had no place in council space. Now humans were showing the council what war looked like when fought by a species with nothing left to lose. Velnashi demanded to know if she was defending humans. Lysara said no, she was explaining them. The council studied human art and literature. They never studied human history. If they had, they would have learned that humanity spent 5,000 years perfecting the art of killing. Humans fought wars the council could not imagine, created weapons the council never dreamed of. Now they were bringing all that experience against the council. Lysara turned to address everyone. She said the council made a mistake. A terrible mistake. They treated humans as primitives, as lesser beings who should be grateful for attention. They ignored warnings. They dismissed pleas for fairness. And when humans sent a man of peace to talk, they killed him. The chamber erupted in shouts, but Lysara continued. Her voice cut through the noise. She said now they faced the consequences. Either surrender, admit the mistake, and beg for terms, or fight humans and pray to survive what comes next. But make no mistake, humans were not bluffing. They would burn every world in the galaxy before accepting defeat. Lysara watched Kyle Morrison die. She saw the look in his eyes. He knew what would come. He tried to warn them. Nobody listened. Velnashi's form pulsed with anger. It said to mobilize the full council fleet, crush the humans before they could do more damage. Lysara asked with what? Alien shields could not stop human weapons. Alien tactics assumed an enemy that fought like they did. Humans did not. They were not interested in honorable combat or limited objectives. They wanted complete victory or mutual destruction, and Lysara believed they were willing to die to achieve either one. The Arbiter was silent for a long moment. Finally it spoke. It said to mobilize the fleet, all reserve forces, every ship. If humans wanted war, they would have it. The council would show them why the council ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Lysara's light dimmed further until it was almost gone. She said quietly that they were all doomed. All of them. She was right. The attack on the Zenthari homeworld was just the beginning. In the days after, humanity struck 12 more council worlds. Each attack was the same. Arrive without warning. Destroy military targets. Demand surrender. Then leave before help could arrive. The council finally mobilized everything. 10,000 warships from 100 different species headed toward human territory. It was the biggest military force ever assembled. It was meant to end humanity's rebellion once and for all. Admiral Cole watched from his command center on Earth. He saw the huge fleet approaching on his tactical display. Any normal military leader would order retreat, fall back, take defensive positions. Cole ordered an attack. His officers looked at him with concern. General Vaughn said even with new weapons, 10,000 ships was a lot. They might not win a direct fight. Cole said humans did not need to win a direct fight. They needed to show the aliens that numbers did not matter, not against humans. He ordered them to activate the Harbinger Protocol. Vaughn's eyes went wide. She said that was never tested in real combat. The theoretical casualties could be massive. Cole said exactly. The aliens needed to understand that fighting humans meant accepting casualties on a scale they never imagined. Execute the protocol. The Council fleet entered the battle zone near Titan, one of Saturn's moons. They expected to find human forces dug in and defending. Instead, they found a single ship. The UESS Harbinger was smaller than most capital ships. about the size of a frigate, but its purpose was singular and terrifying. Captain Samuel Hunt stood on the Harbinger's bridge watching as 10,000 enemy ships surrounded his position. His crew was small, only 20 people. They did not need more. The engineering officer reported all systems operational, fusion core at maximum output, quantum drive ready for activation. Communications reported the aliens were sending messages demanding surrender. Samuel ordered them to open a channel. The view screen showed the Council Fleet Commander. Samuel did not recognize the species. It spoke through the translator in flat tones. The alien said the human vessel was surrounded. Power down weapons and prepare to be boarded. This conflict ends now. Samuel smiled, but there was no warmth in it. He said the alien was right. This does end now, but not the way they thought. He looked at his crew. They volunteered for this mission knowing they might not survive. Everyone lost someone to Council aggression. They were here because they wanted to be. Samuel ordered quietly to activate the Harbinger. The ship's fusion core began to overload. Not randomly, but in a carefully controlled way. Energy built up contained by magnetic fields and quantum locks. Then at exactly the right moment, the locks released. The Harbinger did not explode. It imploded. Its entire mass and energy collapsed into a quantum singularity that existed for exactly 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, it created a disruption field across 50,000 kilometers. Every ship in that radius simply stopped working. Shields failed. Engines died. Life support shut down. Weapons went offline. 10,000 warships became 10,000 metal coffins drifting in space. The Harbinger and its crew were gone, sacrificed to deliver the most devastating blow in the war so far. But their sacrifice was not in vain. As the Council fleet drifted helpless, the rest of humanity's forces arrived. 60 capital ships, hundreds of support vessels, all targeting the disabled enemy. The quantum disruption wore off after a while, but the damage was done. Ships tried to restart and fight back, but humanity gave them no time. It was not a battle. It was an execution. Captain Chang, commanding the Retribution, broadcast on all frequencies as the human fleet destroyed the Council forces. She said, "Let this be a lesson to every species in the galaxy. Humans did not start this war. They tried peace. They tried diplomacy. They sent their best to negotiate. The aliens killed him. Now they face the consequences. This fleet, 10,000 strong, was gone. Every ship, every crew, and humans would do it again and again until the aliens surrendered or until nothing was left of the Council but memories." She paused, then added words that would echo through galactic history. "This is what human war looks like. This is what they bought when they killed Kyle Morrison, and this would not end until they admitted their mistake and begged for forgiveness." In the Council chambers, Arbiter Velnashi stared at the tactical display showing nothing where 10,000 ships should be. Around it, the silence was absolute. No one shouted. No one argued. They just stared at the evidence of their defeat. Someone whispered, asking how this was possible. Lysera said because humans were willing to sacrifice anything to win. That ship, the Harbinger, destroyed itself to disable the Council fleet. 20 humans died to kill hundreds of thousands of aliens. Humans valued victory more than survival. The Zenthari representative said, "Then fight them with the same ruthlessness. Target human colonies. They're civilians. Show them too can play this game." Belnashi said no. Its voice was heavy. If they did that, humans would respond in kind. And humans already proved they were better at total war. No, they must find another way. The Corthan delegate asked what other way there was. Humans would not negotiate, would not stop. What choice did they have? Lysara's light flickered, then steadied. She said, "Give them what they want. Surrender." The chamber erupted in protest, but Lysara continued. Not just a ceasefire. Not just peace. Total unconditional surrender. Admit the Council was wrong. Apologize for Kyle Morrison's death. Accept human terms, whatever they are. Because if they did not, humans would burn the entire galaxy to ash, and they would not stop until every alien species was extinct. The Zenthari representative demanded if she was suggesting they surrender to a species they outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Lysara said quietly she was suggesting they survive. Because right now survival was the best outcome they could hope for. Velnashi was silent for a long time. Then it pulsed once slowly. It said to prepare a message to the human fleet, request negotiation terms, and pray humans were willing to accept anything less than complete destruction of all Council species. The message was sent. It took 3 days for a response. 3 days of fear and uncertainty. 3 days of wondering if humanity would accept surrender or continue the war until nothing remained. When the response came, it was simple. Admiral Cole would meet with council representatives in neutral space. 1 week. Come ready to accept human terms. There would be no negotiation. Only acceptance or continued war. The council had no choice. They sent their delegates. Velnashi, Lusara, representatives from the species most affected by human attacks. They came to the meeting scared and defeated. They came expecting harsh terms. They were right to expect that. What they did not expect was just how harsh those terms would be, or how much their galaxy was about to change. 3 months after Kyle Morrison's execution, the Council requested negotiations. 3 months of war that saw 20 Council worlds attacked, 50 defense fleets destroyed, and millions dead. 3 months of humanity proving that numbers meant nothing against determination and weapons designed for total war. The meeting took place in neutral space aboard a Lyra diplomatic vessel. Not in the Grand Council chambers, but somewhere quiet and private. The Council chose their delegates carefully. Arbiter Velnashi, Ambassador Lisara, representatives from the species most hurt by human attacks. Humanity sent only 2 people. Admiral Benjamin Cole and Captain Lisa Chang. They arrived in a shuttle unarmed and alone. The Council offered security guarantees and safe passage. Cole laughed at the offer. After what humanity did, the Council was desperate. They would not risk making humans angrier. The conference room was simple. Cole and Chang sat on one side of the table. Council delegates arranged themselves on the other. No one spoke for a long moment. Finally, Velnashi broke the silence. It said the Council was grateful humans were willing to negotiate. A peaceful resolution served all parties. Cole's expression did not change. He asked where Kyle Morrison was now. Kyle believed in peace too. The Arbiter's light dimmed. It said the death of Ambassador Morrison was regrettable. In hindsight, perhaps too harsh. The Council acknowledged that mistakes were made. Chang's voice was ice cold. She said mistakes. They murdered an unarmed diplomat seeking justice for his people. They called it sedition. They executed him in front of the galaxy. And now they called it a mistake. The Zenthari representative said words mattered little now. What mattered was ending this conflict before more lives were lost. Cole said agreed. So let him be clear about human terms. Total unconditional surrender of all Council forces. Immediate stop to all military operations. Recognition of human control over all territory. Currently held by humanity, including the outer colonies that started this mess. Reparations for damages. And one more thing. Cole leaned forward. Every species in the Council would formally apologize for Kyle Morrison's death. Every world would broadcast the apology. Every citizen would know the Council was wrong and humanity was right. They would admit publicly and permanently that they murdered a man seeking peace. The silence that followed was absolute. The Corthan delegate hissed, asking if humans wanted them to humiliate themselves before the entire galaxy. Cole said flatly he was not asking. These were human terms. Accept them or the war continued. And let him be very clear about what continuing the war meant. Humans would not stop at military targets. They would begin destroying industrial capacity, then infrastructure, then population centers. They would reduce every Council world to primitive conditions. And they would not stop until the aliens either surrendered or ceased to exist as a civilization. Velnashi asked with genuine horror if humans would commit genocide. Chung said the Council started this. They killed Kyle, they quarantined humans. They tried to crush them. Every death from this point forward was on Council conscience, not humanity's. Humans offered peace. The Council chose war. Now they got to live with the consequences. Lisara, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. She asked what happened if they accepted. If they surrendered, apologized, paid reparations. What then? Did humans withdraw? Did they leave Council space? Cole said humans would establish a permanent military presence. Human forces would be stationed in key locations throughout Council space, not as occupiers, as insurance, to make sure the Council never forgot what happened, to make sure no species ever again thought they could kill a human without consequences. Lisara asked if humans would occupy them. Cole corrected her. Humans would remind them, daily, constantly, that humanity was not to be trifled with, that peace was earned through respect, not imposed through fear. Kyle Morrison believed in cooperation between species. He died for that belief. Now the council would honor his memory by actually living up to the ideals he represented. The council delegates looked at each other. Velnashi pulsed slowly, considering. It said finally that these terms were harsh. Chung said they were fair. Humans could demand far worse. They could demand total subjugation. They could demand the council be dissolved. They could demand individual species surrender their freedom. They were not doing that. They were asking for acknowledgement of wrongdoing, compensation, and assurance it would not happen again. That was not harsh. That was mercy. The Zenthari representative asked, what if they refused? Cole stood preparing to leave. He said then in 6 months the Zenthari homeworld would not exist. In a year the Korthan territories would be ruins. In 5 years the council would be a historical footnote. Their choice. Accept human terms or face extinction. They had 24 hours to decide. He and Chang walked to the door. Before leaving, Cole turned back one last time. He said one more thing. Kyle Morrison had a daughter, Sophie. She was 7 years old. She watched her father go to the council hoping to make peace. She watched him die. When they broadcast their apology, address it to her. Tell her they were sorry her father had to die because they could not see humans as equals. Tell her they would never make that mistake again. Make sure she knew her father did not die for nothing. The council debated for 18 hours. Some argued for continued resistance. Some suggested finding alien allies beyond council space. Some proposed rebuilding fleets and continuing the war. Lysara ended the debate with a simple question. How many more had to die before they admitted they were wrong? 6 hours later, the council accepted humanity's terms. All of them. Unconditional surrender, reparations, recognition of human territory, and the apology. The broadcast went out on every frequency to every world in every language. Velnashi spoke for the council, but every delegate stood behind it, visible and accountable. It said to the people of Earth, to all humans throughout space, and especially to Sophie Morrison, the Galactic Council offered its deepest apologies. They executed Ambassador Kyle Morrison unjustly. He came seeking peace. He came seeking fairness. He represented the best of his species, and they killed him because they could not see past their own arrogance. The Arbiter paused, then continued. Sophie, your father died trying to prevent a war. He believed in cooperation. He believed species could work together. The Council failed to honor that belief. The war that followed was their fault. The deaths that occurred were their responsibility. Your father was right and they were wrong. This council, committed to ensuring his dream of peaceful coexistence, became reality. This they swore on the memory of Kyle Morrison. On Earth, in a small house in Geneva, Sophie Morrison watched the broadcast with her mother.
She had been told what happened to her father.
She cried herself to sleep for months. Now she watched as the entire galaxy apologized to her specifically. She asked her mother quietly if they won. Her mother, Claire, held her close. She said no one won, sweetheart. But they made sure her father's death meant something. They made sure the aliens understood they could not just kill people without consequences. Sophie asked if Dad would be happy. Claire thought about that. Kyle had been a man of peace. He believed in diplomacy, but he was also practical. He knew sometimes force was necessary to achieve justice. Claire said she thought he would be sad it came to war, but proud that humans stood up for themselves, that they demanded to be treated as equals. That was what he was trying to do. Now the whole galaxy knew humanity would not accept being treated as lesser beings. Sophie nodded, then looked at her mother with eyes too old for her age. She said when she grew up she would be a diplomat like Dad, but she would also be strong, so no one ever killed her for trying to do what was right. Claire smiled through tears. She said her father would like that very much. The war ended. Human ships took positions throughout Council space, constant reminders of what happened when you underestimated humanity. The Council restructured itself, creating new protocols for dispute resolution, new protections for diplomatic envoys, new respect for species rights. They called it the Morrison Reforms. In the years that followed, relations slowly improved. Trade resumed. Cultural exchanges began. New treaties were signed. But everyone remembered. Everyone knew. The day the Council killed a human was the day the galaxy learned what humanity was truly capable of. And they never forgot the lesson. 30 years later, Admiral Lisa Chang, now retired, attended a memorial dedication on Earth. A statue of Kyle Morrison standing tall looking up at the stars. The inscription read simply, Kyle Morrison, Ambassador. He sought peace. He found war. He taught the galaxy to respect humanity. Beside Lisa stood Sophie Morrison, now an adult wearing the uniform of the diplomatic corps. She followed in her father's footsteps, becoming one of humanity's most respected ambassadors. But she also trained in military tactics, studied warfare, understood violence, because she learned the lesson her father's death taught. Peace was built on respect, and sometimes respect had to be earned through strength. Lisa asked quietly if Kyle would be proud. Sophie smiled. She said he would be relieved. The galaxy finally understood humans, not because they were the strongest, but because they showed they would fight for what was right no matter the cost. That was what he was trying to do. They just finished what he started,